Hi, guys, and welcome. I'm so excited for you to be here as part of the Women's Health Summit. You're going to be gaining clarity so you can lead with confidence and finally put that passion into profit. So I'm Laura Sherrill. I'm a high-performance women's health coach and the founder of Balanced Bombshells, and I'm here with Ashlyn Carter, who is a conversion copywriter and marketing strategist. And I'm just so excited you're here, and I just have to share a few of your accolades because you've done so much in your business and you're helping so many powerful people online. So I know that you traded Fortune 500 corporate marketing to write for creatives like Jenna Kutcher, Hilary Rushford, Julie Solomon, and so many more on this space. And so I'm so excited for you to shine light on copywriting, what we can be doing, and then what the latest marketing strategies are that are working right now.
Well, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Laura, for letting me chime in. And yeah, I'm so passionate. I appreciate you saying those kind of things. And those women are incredible. I know we've worked with some, like name brand clients, but I'm so passionate about the fact that you can do it yourself. Like there's so much of your messaging and your copy and your marketing. I tell students, usually I say this later, but I'm bringing that right out of the gate. Like there's nobody that's more equipped to share your story and why you do what you do, how you do it, the way you do it, quite like you. You just need the tools to be able to communicate it. So I'm excited to dig in and talk about this today.
Yeah, and like there's so many voices online like
Yeah.
telling you what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. And guys, if you don't follow Ashlyn online yet, like you absolutely need to be following her on Instagram. Like you can just feel her heart and like I just love reading your words. Like it inspires me in like, oh yeah, I can be doing better in my copy. Like there's just so many things of inspiration that we can get. And I'm excited for you to be able to shine light on how we can be serving more from our heart and how that can
Yeah.
come through our message. So I'd love to know, like, how did you get started in your business and why?
Yeah. So, and I think like it's weird to even think that my business is, and I know I'm peons compared to I know it's small potatoes, but it's also to me like thinking about when I started and just like how with like such humble beginnings not that long ago. It just, and I think always the people that I look up to that are so good and I think they're so authentic, they're like, they don't think they're, they've just always been doing what they've been doing. So, and I think that it seems like a lot of the audience listening to this is that kind of person, like the woman that just like has a skill set in her hands and a craft and a task that she's good at, and she can just figure out how to help people with it. I think that's going to come across really authentic. So where I started was in corporate marketing, like what you said. I loved my job, and what's really interesting, especially for this audience, is something that I know somebody out there has some experience with somehow. I was always stressed at work. I just thought that was part of being a publicist, and started to, it was about the time my husband proposed, and I did wedding calligraphy at night as like a stress relief, and
Yeah.
jury's out on if it actually like reduced stress, because throughout this, I tried to control the one thing that I could when I was really stressed, and it ended up being what I ate and then what I could exert through exercise.
Yeah.
And little by little, that turned into a full-blown eating disorder. And so 3 months into my marriage, I went into partial hospitalization for generalized anxiety, depression, and eating disorder. So it's truly people that do some of the things that you may do watching this that saved my life. It was while I was in recovery that I realized, I was on medical leave from work. I had like this aha moment that maybe you've had, that there's this ecosystem of women out there that do what they love and get paid. And I was like, but how is that possible? And so this little seed was planted, and I got through recovery and went back to work. And it was 2 months later in February that my husband, I came home complaining one too many times. He was like, "You're done. We're going to figure this out." And I got a computer, got a laptop, and Wes took me on a date to get my laptop. It was a surprise. And that was kind of him being like, "I think you can do this." And I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I could write and do PR and any kind of marketing task. And I knew I could do calligraphy. So I was like, well, I'm just going to figure that out. And so it was bit by bit that I started to figure out, and this niche came together. I tell students all the time, and we can like dig more into it, but go find the you-size gap out there and fill it. I did not set out to start a marketing and copywriting business. that it like slowly bit by bit, I realized that a lot of the people I wanted to work with when I was going to meetups with other wedding industry entrepreneurs, they were having a hard time explaining what they did. And they were having a hard time drafting copy that sold. They hated their services page. They hated their about page. They hated their homepage website copy. They had no idea how to write email marketing copy. And I was like, I didn't know that was hard for anybody. And that's when I started to put that together and realize what kind of the me-shaped gap in the market was. So that's how I started my business and truly fell into it. I studied journalism. I didn't study business. Never saw that coming. Yet here I am.
I love that story too, because like you really showed up with your passion and what you were good at, and you focused on your strengths, but also allowed, like, sometimes I think our lives have to break down and like crumble and crash in order for us to like pivot and realize what we're meant to do.
Amen.
And I think a lot of women watching this, like, it happens a lot in my work. It's definitely happened with me. So like I struggle with over exercising for like 12 years.
Yes.
Didn't know it was a thing, didn't know it was an eating disorder until I developed like arthritis in my front toe from running. I worked out like 3 to 4 hours a day. Like, it was terrible. But eating disorders are very much centered around control, like trying to control an aspect where we feel so out of control in our everyday life. So I think a lot of women watching this are going to be able to relate to that. It happens with so many women and no one really talks about it.
Yes.
I can relate so much to what you're saying of being really stressed out in your career, just thinking that's how it's supposed to be. That's certainly like how it was for me, and probably a lot of women listening to this too, of like, no, we actually can be really happy. So I love that you like settled into your heart and just allowed yourself to be guided. And just, I think what you did right too was listening to what other people were struggling with and realize that you could help them.
Yeah, I was going to say none of this I put together on my own. None of it. It was all, and one of the earlier investments I made in my business, I remember calling my husband the day tickets went on sale. I was still at my corporate job. I was kind of planning on leaving one day. I was like, babe, this like business retreat for creatives it's $4,000. I've got the calligraphy clients on the books to come in. I will have the money, but I do not have it right now. And I asked him if I could go, and it was at that where I met so many, like I got to sit at the feet of educators and learn from, it was small, it was very intimate, but I got to sit there and ask them like, here's my skill set. Where do you see me fitting? Like, where's a need? And it was other women helping tell. And I think women are good about that. Women are good about telling other people, hey, you're good. You're specifically gifted in this way. And I see a need out there. So if there's friends, family, like, and I asked a lot of friends when I was starting my business, can you just tell me like the God fingerprints on me? Like, what do you see that I'm good at? Because a lot of times, like your own copy, we were talking earlier, sometimes your own copy is the hardest to write. Sometimes seeing what you're good at and could have a business with is so difficult as well. So I will say none of that was Ashlyn's idea. It was all like bit by bit, stepping stone, me seeing things come together.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. My previous job was in professional fundraising, where I planned a lot of events and did a lot of like sponsor, like corporate marketing.
Yes.
And I would just read like health and wellness articles, and like I would read a book a week because I had a really long commute, and I just loved health and wellness. And my friends were like, I think you should do something with this. And I had a girlfriend like send me websites of like other health coaches, and she's like, you should do this. And then I was like, no, like that's not for me. Like, no, who am I to do that? Like going through all of like the fear-based thoughts and like self-doubt and judgment. And then like hormones came up, and I was like, no, like that's not for me. And then there's just all the little pieces of the universe kind of coming together and being like, why not you? Like I just kind of like, you just kind of felt pushed in that direction, like gently, and then not so gently, I'm sure at times, where it was like, this is going to be where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. And I don't know if it felt scary for you to like niche down like you did. That's one thing I tell a lot of people that are aspiring to be a business owner. They just like want to make a dent as a business owner. There's something to be said to like niche down to blow up, because if you can, like, it's just, I could write press releases. I could help with publicity. I could help draft marketing. I could do social media strategy. There was a million things I could do. But the more I drill down into this one marketing concept, writing, and it felt so, like, probably for you, like it probably felt scary. And it did feel scary for me to say, like, I'm going to be the girl that helps people with their words.
Mhm.
But over time, then you get to expand and talk about other things because you've made and carved out a niche for yourself.
Right. Yeah. And I think I was going to ask you too, like, what's one of the biggest mistakes you see entrepreneurs make? And I think that would be one of them.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think, like, especially from women, like, we're so nurturing, we show up to serve, and it's like helping women is not a niche. Like,
Oh my gosh. And
it's not a niche.
yes, like I told you earlier, I have a friend who is interested in starting a wellness business, and she was like, I think I just want to, I know I just want to help women. She like, but like, I was like, but that's because your copy is not going to be able to be powerful
Yeah.
if you can't talk to this woman and her specific problems. A postpartum body is struggling with something very different from an eating disorder, recovery that's trying to maybe get back and make some healthy decisions. Like, yes.
Right.
Yes,
Well,
100%.
and even like from the pregnancy market, like trying to talk to someone who's trying to conceive versus someone who's pregnant versus someone who's postpartum. Like those are right there in that 9-month period
Yep.
is very specific
Yep.
differences.
Yep.
Because like a woman pregnant isn't going to be listening to you if you're talking about trying to conceive. She's like,
No.
I'm there. Like I don't
Yeah.
need that.
Yeah. And
So
fertility is different from just like general trying to, like,
yes,
somebody who's been trying for 4 years is different from 4
right.
months.
Yeah. Yeah. So even in like the women's health space too, I try to talk to a lot of women of like the different niches, and it's like
Love that.
there's just so many, just like you see probably in all the creative spaces and all the spaces you work in, like even in weddings, like there's
Oh gosh.
DIY, luxury, like there's just so
Yeah.
many. So
Yes.
yeah, what do you really love? What are you passionate about? I think is a great place to start.
Absolutely.
So what other mistakes, I guess, do you see other entrepreneurs make, either in terms of like their marketing strategy or their copy?
Yeah, that's the biggest one. I see that all the time, and that people just don't realize that affects everything else. That affects your copy. Like, there's just no way that message is going to stick. And then if you, like you think about putting money behind that, whether it's like investing in a website or an ad strategy, like it's not gonna work if it's not super specific. So that's just like a big bread and butter thing to put out there. Websites, we overcomplicate websites. We think we need all these different pages. We really don't. We just need to like trim things down to getting, like, if you think about, I know funnel, if you start talking about marketing at all, you hear funnel, it's a sexy word these days, but just thinking like, how can you get people clearly, how can you explain what you do and how you can help them and get them to the next step, whether it is getting on that call with you or whatever it is. I think and again, I work with primarily like artists, makers, creatives, wedding industry, and I'm like, the number of pages on a website, people are not going all those places. People are not doing all of that. They're not on your website that long. If you look at any of your Google Analytics, so how can you just make it very simple for them to go from one thing to another and understand? That doesn't mean that there's not a place for long copy or long website pages, because there absolutely is. But all that said, you have to understand what the user's experience is like once they move through your website.
And kind of like taking them on a journey, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's what it sounds like you're saying, like you're
Yes.
just, when they land there, what are they seeing?
Yes.
What kind of journey can then you take them on?
Yes.
My husband works in marketing, so he helps me a lot with like business stuff, and he's like, what's the journey? Like just always talking about the journey.
Yeah, and I didn't come from a background of really being like super good in Google Analytics, but being able to get in there and seeing, and again, this is like once you have your website up and running, where do they land first? If all your traffic is Pinterest, they're coming through your blogs, they're not landing on that homepage. And then we approach things so differently. So always looking at, that's maybe another big mistake I see is like, look at the data, make data-driven decisions. Don't make decisions based off your feelings or that are you focused. Like this is why, like in your copy, I swear, and I say it all the time, the best copy is never, like, get it out of your head that it's going to be in your head, because it's not. You're not going to come up with it. The best copy is going to be in your ideal client or customer's head, in her text messages with her best friend. It's going to be in Facebook groups she's talking in, forums, emails with her family. It's out there, and you have to do the job of going to get it and doing the research. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, but you have to go out there and get it. I hope that just takes pressure off people that are trying to figure out how to string messages together, put all this together in a website. You do not have to be the best little writer, a J.K. Rowling, a Hemingway. No, that's not the kind of writing that copywriting and marketing is. So yeah, don't worry about that.
I think, yeah, like always taking it from their words and then like paying attention to what questions they're asking.
Always.
And then like you can turn that into blog posts or a free opt-in or a mini course, or like just being able to show up with the questions they're asking.
Yes.
Because like, yeah, it like sounds simple, but like sometimes we need people to just tell us that, because you're just so caught up in like, how do I do this? And it's such a big project.
Yes.
But yeah, just getting down, like niching it down, really just focusing in on your ideal clients and like, how can you serve them?
Right. If you can figure out and develop your listening skills as an entrepreneur, that's half the battle, I think, because they will tell you what they want next. They will tell you what they want from you. They will tell you what they want your blogs or your episodes to be about. They will tell you what they'll pay for. They will tell you. So like getting really good early on at listening. And here's what I tell students too, not just listening, but banking. How can you like, because you're going to get a lot of, and again, data is a fancy word for just like the info. So the more you listen and read in these Facebook groups or whatever, you're going to start stockpiling these little copy swipes or whatever, these questions that you're getting. So how are you putting it? I tell my students it can be however you want. It can be an Evernote system, Google Drive, a Google spreadsheet, but starting to bank and collect that information is so helpful. And then the other tip that I always tell them is put somehow on like on auto your question asking, whether maybe you have a welcome sequence and the fourth email in the email welcome sequence says, when somebody signs up for your list, they're getting all these emails. And then one of them says like, can you hit reply and ask me like, or tell me what is the number one blog post that would help you out right now? And the more people are getting on your list, now you can put a whole folder, and you've got a whole folder in your Gmail of just like question after question after question that you could answer. So how can you figure out a way to automate your question asking is another helpful tip.
Yeah, that's so helpful. Like, because I mean, there's so many things when you're an entrepreneur, and like so many things that you're wearing so many different hats.
Yes.
So just, creating systems, automating things, then takes it off of your plate so you can either do more in your business or take more time off. Like it really just depends on what you want to do with your time.
Exactly.
So knowing that we're talking to a lot of women in the health and wellness space, do you have any copy tips for that space?
Yes, two big ones. The first one is do your research. So there is a reason that I don't write a lot of copy for tons of wellness clients, because there's a lot you need to know about making sure you're saying the right things and the right claims. Yeah. So, and you probably, do you have a resource on this or a tool?
For like talking about health and wellness?
Without making like claims, but like making sure that legally you're saying the right things?
I spoke to multiple lawyers before I got started, just to be able to make sure I had my ducks in a row. Perfect. So it's like, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a certified health coach. Like I show up to teach women how they can use hormones to their advantage. But my background is in business and marketing communications. So so just like a food blogger, if they create like a printed recipe book, they're sharing their recipes. So I have a recipe guide that shares recipes that I use. So at least from the wellness and like health coaching standpoint, it's very much of like, here's my system, here's what I do, here's the research of why I do it. And then you're basically there just helping provide resources and information to help someone make a decision. But like, you can't put someone on a diet. You're not a doctor, you're not a nutritionist. So just there is definitely a gray area for communicating stuff in the health and wellness space. If that helps, like the legal side of it.
That's so great. And I like how you said you talked to your attorney. I think like if you can find a trusted attorney or lawyer that understands the space you're in, like I have one that knows the creative industry like the back of her hand, and having her in my back pocket is so helpful because in your copy there, especially with health, there's going to be a lot of things that you can't say the same way that in a marketing standpoint, I can't say, typically students like these results are not typical. So I can't say something that's not. So it's the same way with like lose weight. Like a lot of, this is why when you're writing Facebook ad copy in the health and wellness space, one of the big red flags Facebook is looking out for in that copy is any bold claims or things that are not going to be true. They will not let that fly. That copy will come right back to you.
Or if you're generalizing it for like a population group, like I can't say like this works for women.
Yes.
Like, and like, yeah. So you have to, it's like a kind of a dance, but you're just, I always see myself as I'm just sharing resources and information, and I'm shortening your curve of finding it because there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and it's like, we're just going to find what works for you and kind of cut out the noise.
Yeah.
So I love that you bring that up too I mean, it's the same, I think, in any industry. Like if you're a business coach, you can't claim that they're going to make $1 million.
Right. Yes. Same thing.
Results not typical.
That's my first tip. If you can have somebody back pocket to, before you put out that Facebook ad campaign, read it. Or before you put that sales page out there for your group coaching program, they can read it. Like just have somebody that can help you and make sure that you're not making a claim that you can't hold up to, because that kind of stuff can get you in trouble. The second tip I have, and it's a workaround for that, is especially when it comes to ads, if you can, like the reasons that story sells so much is because it's universal. So if you can tell a story about yourself going through an experience that your client or customer could relate to, or one of your clients going through an experience, that can be a great way to, because you can't come out of the gate in your copy and say like you feel not help, like you can't say these certain things because you'll get dinged for it. But if I say, one time I was talking about, and I tell it from a story standpoint, that can typically fly better. So that's another tip I have. And again, especially when it comes to ads, like we even have a template for ad copywriting on the agency side of my business, where we always do one like that. That's story driven first and foremost, because that's a great way to talk about other people without outright telling them that they are a certain way. They will see themselves in the content.
Correct. Yeah. And I think too, like this is definitely for women who are more coaches. So like attracts like, so you're more likely to attract someone like you, which is why like writing your story, using your words, being genuine to who you are in your marketing and your copy is then going to connect people who are just like you. So I still like, sometimes I'll get off the phone of discovery calls and I'll just start crying of like happy tears. And I'm like, I'm doing something right in my messaging to attract these women. Like I just still sometimes can't believe it, where I'm like, I get paid to basically hang out and help them. Like you just, where you're just like, I don't know what I did, but it's in the messaging, because it's like how you show up online, how you converse. So I know on your website, you talk a lot about like words matter. So it's just like point after point of like how much it matters in your business, and like just talking to people.
I love what you just said too. And I can't remember his name. I didn't write it down, but I was reading a book and there was an entrepreneur and he was like, I just banked, like when I started my business, I just banked on the fact that out of the millions, and I mean billions, right? Billions of people on the internet, like so many people have the internet. Out of that, there's probably 1,000 people that are like you and want to hear your message, your way, with your words and your story. You can make a really dang good living off that. Like that's enough to do it for you. So I love that you said, when you're so authentic and in line with your message that you're putting out there to your clients, you'll get the right people.
How do you deal with clients or like your students who struggle with the self-doubt of people don't want to hear my story, or I'm afraid I might be too much in my copy? Or because sometimes I found, like, especially when I was first getting started, I would doubt my own message. And it was more out of fear, I think, of being judged and criticized, because like when you're on an online platform, you are open to a lot of criticism. And I mean, on my end, it was definitely a lot of mindset work of like, why are you fearing that? Because no one's doing that. So like, where is that coming from? So I don't know if you talk to your students about getting over the self-doubt on their message.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing I think, and I'm not immune to this either. One thing that I think can help the most is because, and kind of going back to what we're saying, we think and we see the messages one way in our head, but they land differently when we say them. So part of the game of figuring out what 3 brand stories you need to say over and over in your business. Part of figuring that out is doing like what a comedian does and trying material, trying it until one thing hits and somebody comes back and is like, that made, I thought about that all week. That's the kind of way that I have figured out brand messages or stories that I need to keep saying. If I put something out there and it doesn't get a lot of, like, it just doesn't get a lot of likes, doesn't get a lot of comments, okay, cool, I tried that piece of story. I got this idea at a conference I was at earlier this year. Somebody, I can't remember who, from the stage had recommended trying out your stories and ideas on lives. So going live and testing out different stories and material and seeing where it lands with certain people. And I think that's a great, maybe that was Russell Brunson who said that. But yeah, I think that has been most helpful for me. Another thing I say that, like, when it comes to confidence, building up a library of client and customer success stories is the number one best, like, confidence booster of all time. If you can look and you got results, not just for yourself, but you can look at a body of work and you can say, like, I got these people results. That gives me the confidence to continue to share my message. But when it comes to figuring out what that message is, I'll try material all day. I usually try it on a small group first, like a live, when you can just see the hearts, you know, or one of my own private communities. Before I would do something like make it an email marketing message or put it on a sales page or whatever.
I think that's good advice too, because like in Instagram, like once you have your account set up as a business account, you have that analytics. So I've heard that before of like, when you're trying to create content for your Instagram, let's say, go into the analytics and being like, oh, people really like it when I do a video.
Oh yeah.
Or people really like it when I have my cat in the photo. Or, you know, like, and then you can, I think, even test it out with like the same type of copy, but with like a different image to see like, was it the text in it or the type of image? Like, there's just so many ways you can test it out.
So many ways you can split test. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like we said earlier, the data doesn't lie. Like if you can start to make data-driven decisions instead of so emotional. Like my husband has to remind me, he's like, Ashlyn, pull your emotions out of that. Like it's a business decision, and just look at, look at metrics, split test everything.
I think every woman too, like, no woman is in her business alone. Like, I actually have really wonderful conversations with my dad and my brother and my husband. And they help me so much by taking out the emotional, because we're very emotional. And especially if it's like driven for your own purpose, like something you're so tied to. I think having that male perspective or someone in your life that can help you look objectively at something without your emotions. Like, I had a lot of friends when I first got started, they'd follow my new Instagram account. And I was like, hey guys, like, I'm testing a lot of stuff. Can you just tell me if it sucks? Like, literally just be honest with me and critique it. So I know, like, I just want to know, how is this landing? Does it sound like me? Like, literally just, having people in your life just kind of tear it apart, because like, you know, like, then you're just kind of stuck. And then I feel like when you're in that space, your mind can't see anything else.
Yes. There's very little messaging I put out that hasn't been run through another pair of eyes or the concept run past somebody. And I started that maybe out of insecurity early on in my business, but like, I will always ask somebody. And that's where I think the beauty of like either being in a mastermind or a group coaching program, or even just like if you join a course and there's a community with it, like I have used those so much. It's like what I desire to make for my students, because I don't think you should hit publish on something being like, oh my God, I don't know. It's like, I mean, an Instagram caption is one thing, but like not on your website or your about page or an email marketing campaign.
Yeah. When I first got started, I had a hard time with like my elevator pitch. So every time I went out to like different parties or friends and they'd be like, what are you doing? I would test out the elevator pitch. And I knew I was sucking at the beginning when I was like, like, I'm going to help women balance their hormones. And like, nobody wanted to talk to me. They were like, cool. And then I had to like really sit like, okay, how am I using this part of our health and wellness? Because for me, it was like the last piece of the health and wellness puzzle. And so I was like, I use them for high performance. I use it to have more energy. I use it to not have PMS or period problems, or like clear skin, no bloating. Like, that's how I chose to use it. So I could basically be selfish and get the results that I wanted. And so I started telling people I helped women use their hormones for high performance. And like women would be like, oh my gosh, do you have a card? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, cool. Like, and it
love
just,
that story is gold. That's exactly, yeah, you're like a comedian. You just tried your material until you were like, ding, ding, ding.
yeah.
Especially too, that's the beauty of doing it in person. People's faces will tell you real fast.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, women have the gift of being able to read emotional intelligence like very well. And I noticed too, I don't know if this has happened to you in your work too, where when you're not using the right message or the right copy, you get the people and the questions and the problems that you don't want to help
Yep.
with.
Yep.
So I had a lot of people being like, or just, oh, my partner has like endometriosis and she's like super depressed about it. And like, I very purposely didn't want people with a victim mentality. And so I was like, ooh, that messaging is attracting that type of person, even vicariously through somebody else. So I was like, ooh, nope. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And
I
I
don't know if
love
you've seen
talking
that.
about high power like that. You shifted that, and that's your elevator pitch is really strong, and you learned it in the trenches, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was the best way for me to get feedback, because sometimes online, especially when you're first starting, you're not getting that constant feedback. So like you don't know.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so just definitely like knowing your niche, like you said, testing out different types of copy, getting people to look at it. For someone like just starting out, what would you say to like a new entrepreneur?
Yeah. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Get really damn good at your craft. Like, get hungry to get really good at it. Because I think so much of and that's what I tell people too. Like I said, being able to look at a pool or a body of work that I've done for clients and customers, and like, not that I place my confidence in that, but that can help, because I know now it gives me encouragement to sell, because I know how their lives have changed. I know what their stories are. I know how life is so different now from when they before they worked with me. That enables me to turn around and go to a girl that's just considering this and be like, let me tell you, if I had something that good and I didn't tell her, that wouldn't, so that, like, honing your craft. And because and I say that, it sounds like, well, duh, because the minute you start doing a business, you realize that there are so many different things to do. And I am a big believer, like, I can literally say, like, on this day I'm doing marketing, on this day I'm doing client work, on this day I'm studying, on this day I'm doing finances. Like, I have to do that, because you just, even once you have a team, it's still like that. That's how it is when you're the CEO at the top of the food chain. So I think that, yeah, like, really making sure that you are the very best at what you do. And that's another, maybe like one more kind of tidbit on that, is figuring out, my students know, I call it your onlyness factor. You've got to be able to tell me why you do what you do, the way you do it, different or better than somebody that does the same thing. You have to figure out, like we said earlier, your gap in the market. Shark Tank. So many good business lessons can be learned from Shark Tank. But you will notice when they go into those and they're making that pitch, the sharks want to know their finances, yes, but they want to hear that pitch, and they want to be able to understand clearly why someone does. So and I think too, sometimes people will hear, oh, there's a copywriter or a messaging strategist. You can go to them for support, but you've got to be able to pitch me as the entrepreneur, as a CEO.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to do this. You can't just outsource it because you're not good at it.
Right. And I think too, like, to your point, like being really grounded and secure of your purpose. Like, because I don't think any woman starts a business because she doesn't care about what she's going to be doing. Like, kind of like you said too, you have to be hungry for it.
Yeah.
And if you're not, like, maybe you're not ready, or it's not truly what you want to do.
Or maybe it's just a hobby. Like, everything doesn't have to be a business. I feel like you get on Instagram these days sometimes, and it's like, some things can just be hobbies.
Yeah. Well, look at all the fashion bloggers who turn their hobby into a business, but that's not how they started. They were just generally so excited about putting an outfit together and sharing where they got it.
Yeah.
And like that all of a sudden changed an entire industry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just because people were taking their side or like their hobby online or their passion.
Exactly.
what do you say to students who are like a little bit established as entrepreneurs and they're looking to get to the next level, or they're realizing like things aren't clicking and I can't move to that next level?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I've been in that position. It's like I'm in that position and then I get out of it and then I'm in it, but I'm right here. It's like it goes on and on. I don't know if you've ever felt like that, but yeah. I think when it comes to hiring and growing a team, it's been really helpful for me because I've gone back and forth. Like, do you hire the expert who knows like that one thing? Like, do I hire a copywriter to do this project? Or do I bring on a BA and train them to do all these different things? Like that can be a struggle. And I'll also just say what I have found has helped me grow is when I've gotten in the weeds a little bit and learned enough to be dangerous about the thing that I need off my plate. And then I bring in somebody that can help with it. I'm trying to think if there's anything in my business there's no aspect of my business. And I've got 3 employees and I think we have up to like 12-ish people on the whole team. And so all those other people I just want to be clear, they're contractors. They have other clients.
Very different.
But there's nothing that I don't know enough to be dangerous in. And I think that's been just helpful because you can then it becomes fun because then you get to play. Well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Play a little more. And the other tip that's constantly helped me scale and grow is investing in coaching. I mean, masterminds, like I will pay. I didn't do the year that I had my baby was born and I was going to be off for maternity leave and just like figure out how to be a mom and have a business. Last year, I didn't do one, and I just couldn't have handled it. But I also really missed it. So I don't know if you found that, but that has been a game changer for me.
Yeah, I just went to the Brendon Burchard event a few weeks ago. So I live in San Diego, and it was like right before like he was doing his event. So I was like, how could I not go?
Yes.
And like just the energy of the room, the people that you meet, like in person, online is great, but in person and investing in yourself from a personal and professional standpoint, I think is huge. Like, and like for you to be able to see the turnaround and the return in your business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. And I feel like too with but I think it's an entrepreneur trait. Like if I invest in something, I want to gamify it to get it back. I'm like, I've got to make my money back. So I think when I spend on coaching, I'm always like, okay, now I spent this, I got to make it back this year.
Which every time I've invested in something, I don't know if it's like the universal like thing, but I always make it back within like, if it's like a small chunk, it's like within a week or two, or if it's a bigger chunk, it might be like a few months, but it's just, I feel like
we show up for things we pay for. Like we just take it more seriously and we make it, we make it happen.
Yeah. So last question before we talk about your freebie and the wonderful offer you have for the listeners is we're all obsessed with health and wellness. You're a busy mom of one. You're running a 7-figure business. What do you do to stay healthy while also having time with your family?
Yes. And I think that I've had to learn to Ashlyn proof my business because now I know what happens when I get too obsessed with work and too into being obsessed with like certain parts of health and wellness. So I think some of the things that help me now, I'll like give maybe like 3 little tips. Waking up and chugging water in the morning and getting up before my 1-year-old, even when it's really hard, that changes my whole day because I'm able to have a moment to just have my quiet time. But I don't know if you've ever used those like electrolyte packets, like little water. That is real. Like I really have seen an energy boost from those. So I've loved those. And then I take a handful of supplements in the morning. And I feel like that just kind of gets me set. To start showing up. I'm trying to think if there's like any other like wellness tip in my office itself that I try to do. I don't really think there is. I walk a lot, but
same here.
Yeah. I sometimes I'm like, I think my neighbors are like, there she goes again. There's the walker, like with her kid.
Same here, except I don't have a kid yet, so it's just me by myself. But walking lowers stress hormones, so it's like very calming to our bodies. So I love those tips, like definitely chugging water. Sometimes we're dehydrated without even realizing it.
I'm pretty sure, especially before these packets, like because the packets taste good. And so I've like realized, I think before that, I swear I was dehydrated every day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we just don't know. So, because I'll notice that on different parts of my cycle. So like I'm more likely to get headaches before and during my period if I've been dehydrated. And I'm like, oh, oh, water's so important.
Yeah. And it becomes like your health becomes really interesting when you're an entrepreneur because your energy levels are your business. Like it all relates. It's kind of the same way as like you become really weird about your time when you're an entrepreneur because all of a sudden you're like, oh, this all affects my business. It all correlates.
Yeah. And I think that's something people don't realize. At least like what I love about entrepreneurs, especially like women entrepreneurs, is that they realize really quickly if their health isn't in alignment to not only their values but also the work that they're doing, and like you're not going to be able to like keep up. That's why I liked hormones, because I was like, it helps me operate at the level that I want to versus like just being on that seesaw where we're like, yeah, I'm feeling good, not so good. Feel like our cycles are very much like that if we're not careful.
Oh, that's what makes it so fascinating to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you have a lot of courses online teaching people how they can do their own copywriting. And then you have a free gift for all of our listeners today if you want to talk about that.
Yes. Okay. So, and I love that we talked about how hard it is to I swear it's the same. I think it's how we can't tell, like, is this outfit? Like, it's just so hard to see things about our own selves sometimes. So I have a download that can help you find your brand voice and put it on paper, because I think a lot of times when you think about your branding, as you start your business or as you grow your business, we have the mood boards, we have our color palettes, we have our logo selection, but do you have anything that has your brand messaging typed and down on paper so then you can use that when you're communicating with your clients and customers? So this guide will hopefully help you get started putting your voice on paper and not sounding like whatever influencers you follow.
I love that. And then that's something they can use on their website, in their sales funnels,
Yes.
Instagram, when they're doing YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
I feel like knowing your voice and getting confident in it is half the battle. And then like we talked about, like going out there and finding out what people are saying and combining all sales messaging is combining your voice with that stuff that people want to hear from you. And if you can really figure out that and explain their problems to them better than they think they can explain them, you'll win.
Awesome. I love that. And I will leave that link for everybody to be able to go grab that. I can't believe that's a freebie. Like, I feel like that's so amazing to be able to use on so many different aspects of your business. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's my joy.
Yeah. So do you have anything else you want to say about, marketing, copy, or health or wellness?
Yeah, I don't think so. There's I have a goal that I want anytime somebody has a question, I want to be able to say, like, I have got a free resource, like a free video or something out there. So if there's any question or listening to this made you think, like, please email me and my team. I would love to, I am so I am so passionate that you can figure out how to do this. I think you should, your first 3 years into your business, be writing your own copy. Like I said earlier, it's like the Shark Tank thing. They know their numbers and they know their message. And that is like, we have to be able, I say that because I was not a numbers girl, and I put my head under the sand for my whole first year in business. I was like, I don't want to figure it out. I'm not good at numbers, but that doesn't mean that I get a free pass to not figure that out. And it's the same with your message. And I promise you can do it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I will leave all of your information so that women can find you online. They can email you and your team. And I'm just so thankful that you were able to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is fun.